There is a mini country in the middle of Australia called Atlantium. It has its own pyramid, money, a flag, and even its very own emperor? Articles claim the emperor is a nice guy, but is that true?
Prime Minister of Atlantium wrote a letter. It was described as one of Hitler's threats prior to invading Poland.
Or is he evil?
You may occasionally see the sword over there being used. I'm not going to cut anyone's head off. I get to do it occasionally. There's no one buried there yet, but there may be at some point. Maintain the rage at those who repress you.
I had to go find out. So, a week ago, I came across something I had never seen before. A country within a country. It's called Atlantium and was started by 3 teenagers in 1981. Since then, over 3,000 people have become citizens, like this guy, and even this guy, who's their official bodyguard. Why does he need a bodyguard? The population is 1. Does he fight himself? This was an opportunity way too good to pass up. So I messaged the emperor, whose name was George, to ask if we could stay in his country, and this is what he messaged back. Which was insane. Emperor George was in a world meet. But then he said this. Oh, still cool. We talked on the phone and he agreed to let us stay. He even said he'd come visit to do an interview while we were there. We were ready to fly out. All I had to do was convince my friend to come along.
Yo, what's good, bro?
We're going to a country.
What?
It's called Atlantium.
What do you mean?
It's a country within a country. We're gonna meet an emperor. We're gonna get
What?
citizenship. You should still bring your passport. Hopefully you know how to drive. There might be kangaroos. I'll see you later.
What?
Bye. We both left our countries in the morning and we're off to Atlantium.
Look at this guy, bro. I don't know. Atlantis.
Atlantium.
I thought we were going to Atlantis.
Oh my god, dude.
When the plane landed, we hired a car and started our 3-hour drive out the country. Along our journey, we saw many things that let us know we were deep in the heart of Australia. Like a gas station. Pretty Aussie, mate. But also windmills, kangaroos,
We in Australia now, baby. Holy moly.
Look at them go. Wow.
Bro, that was insane.
and even cows that followed us.
There is something you do not see every day.
Hi, guys. They're following me.
What? This is so crazy.
And then we arrived.
Woo!
Atlantium was a micronation that spanned as far as its long trees. It's actually one of the smallest micronations created, being second only to the Vatican City. And the coolest part was that you could walk the whole country within minutes. While I was in this micronation, I decided to do 4 missions to complete my journey. Get a souvenir, become a citizen, do an interview with the Emperor, and do something that would be illegal in Australia, but is completely legal in Atlantium.
There's a pole.
The building we were staying in was also called the Embassy. Pretty sick. By the way, this is an official government house, and once I step in, I'll be literally in the embassy of Atlantium. Outside, I'm in an embassy building. If I fart, I would have farted in an embassy building. He's gonna kick me out. And inside the embassy, we found out Emperor George had a love of books, because he had a lot of them. Emperor George is obviously an avid reader, as evidenced by his many, many books, including titles such as Jesus, History, and Myth, as well as, of course, White Trash. He also had a sword.
Every emperor actually needs his set of weaponry, and George is no different. In fact, he has something right here in the kitchen. A sword. Oh, this is the weapon that he uses. This really hurts.
Atlantium also had a post office, which was pretty cool because it was so small, but it was also in the same room as the toilet. Is it because both things are outgoing?
This is the bathroom. I guess it's nothing really special here.
Are you serious?
Dude, this is the second time. If this is what I think it is, then...
Oh, Jesus, what the? No.
What is that? Why is there, like, a toilet under the toilet? What are you...
Oh! Okay, we...
I'm going to Australia, bro. I'm done. I'm pooping there.
It was now dinner time, and while we were eating, we prepared questions to ask George tomorrow. But then something happened. There was only one road to Atlantium, and it flooded easily. The rain at night kept me wondering if George would even show up in this horrible weather. And while my friend had no trouble sleeping, I couldn't. Truthfully, I was stressed about work, my future, about my life in general. And every time I went online, it made me feel like I was falling behind. So this trip wasn't just for me to go somewhere new, but to also get away from things as well. By morning, nothing had changed, and I was beginning to lose hope.
I thought you checked the weather.
I did, but I checked it for Australia. This is a different country.
And then, like some mythical figure, wearing all of his medals and a sachet, complete with a cane, there he was, standing at the embassy. And now it was time to interview an emperor. George is going to wear his regalia today when he does the interview, and we wanted to show him we were serious too, so we created a uniform. How does it look?
What is your full official title?
My title is His Imperial Majesty George II, Emperor and First Among Equals of Atlantium.
Why did you come up with the name Atlantium?
That's the one thing that actually doesn't have very much meaning. The name Atlantium itself was just chosen because it sounded really imperial.
Would you ever consider changing the name Atlantium?
No.
Okay, well, I have a couple names,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
How about Newer Zealand?
Well, that's certainly an interesting suggestion.
Suviland, which is just me.
No.
My last one was just Atlanto.
No.
While doing the interview, George also showed us the money he kept in Atlantium, all with his face on it, in different amounts. There were 10s, 20s, 50s, and of course, hundreds, baby. He even had a coin minted to celebrate his 30-year reign of being Emperor of Atlantium, which he let me keep. And just like that, I had a souvenir to take home. Check.
Have you been threatened by any other nations?
Many, many years ago, it was called the province of Bumbunga in South Australia. And this was founded in 1976 by a guy called Alex Braxton. He saw that Atlantium had issued some postage stamps to commemorate one of the anniversaries of another micronation. And completely out of the blue, he sent us a letter. He threatened us with legal action were we to ever try to do the same with Bumbunga, which up until that time we'd never heard of. The Prime Minister of Atlantium wrote a very strongly worded letter, which was published, and it basically was described by the writer of the article as akin to one of Hitler's threats prior to invading Poland. Phone calls were made between Bumbunga and Atlantium. We threatened war. And a war was declared.
Really?
Yes, a war was declared.
Oh man, okay.
It was suggested that we settle the war with a game of table tennis, but I was in Sydney, he was in Snowtown. Long distance, none of us wanted to travel, so we both declared victory, and that was the first and only war that Atlantium has engaged in. It's very embarrassing. We don't often talk about it at as much length as I've just described it to you. You may occasionally see the sword over there being used on some media, so I get to do it occasionally, but it's something that I'm personally uncomfortable with.
I see.
I'm not going to cut anyone's head off.
Okay. That's really good to know.
Very reassuring.
That is what's known as starting beef. Do you know much about
Yes.
that?
No, that's terminology I'm unfamiliar with.
Kendrick or Drake?
I only know the second of those names.
You know Drake?
I've heard of Drake.
Yes.
That's a musician, isn't
That
it?
is.
Yes. Or a group of some sort.
He's
After the interview, I convinced George to let me become a citizen of his country, so he took me up to Capitol Hill to inaugurate me. By the way, the weather did not get any better. It was raining, windy, and as cold as ice. But George was a great guy. You can even see the rain fogging up in his glasses if you look closely. That's us, pledging our allegiance to the country.
And where I've put the gaps in, that's where you would normally jump in and do your bit.
perfect.
I
Subi.
declare and affirm that I will be a true and faithful citizen of Atlantium, and that I will treat my fellow citizens and all other members of the great family of humanity with equanimity and respect.
And with that, I was now an official citizen of Atlantium. Check.
So you have a Sphinx outside, a pyramid,
There's a
and
bit of a story there.
yeah, I wanted to know who built that pyramid.
Yeah, I and a few friends that I forced to assist me.
Oh,
So as you're an emperor, you can say to people, here, I have an empire, you're welcome to come and visit, but if you do, you're helping me build the pyramid. The actual shape of the pyramid, obviously Egyptian inspired. The reason that we selected that is a bit of a nod to my own personal heritage. My mother is actually, she was from Egypt.
Really?
Egypt. She was born in Egypt, was educated there, reached her early 20s, and then came to Australia, but never went to Cairo or saw the pyramids. A bit of a honouring my mother kind of thing, honouring my personal heritage. Also, there are actually almost no pyramids in Australia. And it's very big, so you can't go inside it. There's no one buried there yet, but there may be at some point. There may be a sarcophagus in there. No promises. It may be for quite some time yet.
So who do you think built the pyramids?
I think the Egyptians built the pyramids. I think that's generally accepted historical fact. Ideas that they were built by aliens.
Yeah, that's what I was
saying. Atlantean civilization. All of that's just nonsense.
Oh,
but I do tell people that this one was built by aliens.
Oh, you do say that?
If they're gullible.
I asked my final question and then the interview was over. Check. Oh, but I did ask George one very important question.
In Australia, there is a uncommon law that I have looked at, and it is that it is illegal to wear hot pink pants on a Sunday. And I just wanted to know that since I'm not in Australia, can I break that law here?
You are fully. You can break that law safe in the knowledge that the nearest neighbours are 5 kilometres down the road and we'll never know. So it's just between you, me, and the million people who will probably
Awesome.
Breaking a law in Australia? Check. After the interview, Emperor George left, and it was time for us to do the same. He left us a few gifts for visiting, 2 postcards and these little flags. So before we left, we wrote something, posted it, and went back home. Our journey began with a little phone call between 2 people who knew nothing about each other. But what shocked me the most was how George started Atlantium, because he wanted a safe space for everyone, of any race or gender or view, to be able to live. And yes, he was an incredibly nice emperor. And even though it's pretty much just a dude with a sachet and a pyramid, he said something in the interview that really stuck with me.
The final question, if you could send out a message to the future generations.
I would say maintain hope. Because we live in a very dark time in the world's history, and we're suddenly seeing a swing back to a world of walls and constraint and no rather than yes, and closedness rather than openness, and selfishness rather than selflessness. So all of that, I think, particularly for younger people, it can be very depressing. My message would be, maintain the hope, because even though we may be going into increasingly dark times, the dawn will come, and that's what these colours represent. This is the colours of the sky before the dawn, and the dawn is our hope in the future of humanity. That's Atlantium's primary symbolism.
Like I said, I kind of went on this trip because I was stressed. Maybe I felt like something was slipping, but after my stay in Atlantium, I think it might be coming back. Until the next quest. Oh, by the way, random person encounter. Enjoy.
Like, there's so many beautiful girls out there.
What's your type? What's your type, would you say?
Oh, look, when I was younger, it used to be the blonde hair, blue eyes, mate. Because everyone freaking loved that. But then I ended up with like brunettes, generally so that's what, I might, and I didn't really mind back in the day whether they were a little bit voluptuous, not like skinny, because, mate, at the end of the day, when you're grabbing that body, mate, it doesn't matter if there's a bit more weight on there.
Put a cushion in it.
It's true to hold on to,
Yeah, you're right, bro.
Yeah, especially when it's a cold night. Good to meet you guys.
Good to meet you.
Take care on your travels back to NZ.